For centuries, one disease has been tangled up with fear, with disfigurement, and, let's be honest, with a lot of stigma. But behind the name leprosy, or Hansen's disease, there's a really specific biological story. And that story, for some pretty devastating reasons, is almost always written on the human hand. So we're going to dig into that story and figure out exactly why the hands are so uniquely vulnerable.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. What if you could reach into a hot oven, grab a sharp piece of glass, or even just squeeze a lemon and feel absolutely nothing? That total loss of feeling, that profound numbness, is the silent, sneaky way Hansen's disease begins its work in the hand.
And you gotta understand, this goes way beyond just a physical problem. The way a person's hands look becomes the very reason for social isolation, for being cast out. It's what turns a totally curable infection into a lifelong human tragedy.
Okay, so first things first. Let's get a handle on what this disease actually is and why it has such a destructive relationship with our hands.
So, Hansen's disease is caused by this one specific bacterium, Mycobacterium leprae. But here's the thing, it doesn't go after your heart or your lungs. Instead, it's drawn to the cooler, more exposed parts of your body. And its favorite target? The peripheral nerves. Think of them as the electrical wiring that controls all the feeling and movement in your arms and legs.
To really get why the hands are ground zero, we have to look at the unique game plan of the bacterium itself. It's not a blitz attack, it's a slow, methodical invader.
What's so wild about M. leprae is how different it is from most other bacteria. I mean, it grows incredibly slowly. And this is the key. It loves cooler temperatures, right around 30 degrees Celsius, which is way cooler than our core body temp. It also has a very specific target it goes after, these things called Schwann cells, which are basically the protective insulation, the rubber coating around our nerve fibers.
Which, brings us right back to the big question. With all that in mind, why do the hands get hit the hardest?
Well, it's basically a perfect storm of vulnerability. First off, as you can see, our hands are just naturally cooler than the rest of our body. That makes them the perfect little incubator for this bacteria. Second, the major nerves in our hands and wrists, the ulnar and median nerves, run super close to the skin. They're just right there, making them easy targets. And finally, our hands are always out there in the world, getting bumped, cut, and burned, which, as we're about to see, becomes a huge problem.
So once the bacteria invade, they basically start cutting the wires to the hand, one by one. First, they attack that nerve insulation. Our body freaks out and sends in the cavalry, causing a ton of inflammation and swelling inside a really tight space. This swelling physically squeezes the nerve, choking off its blood supply. And over time, the nerve fibers themselves just die. The result? A complete communication breakdown. No more signals for movement, and no more signals for feeling.
Okay, so we've got this nerve damage. How does that spiral into the kinds of deformities that we've all seen in historical pictures? Well, it kicks off this devastating chain reaction that starts with numbness and ends with life-altering changes to the hand.
It all starts with losing that sense of touch. A hand that can't feel pain is a hand that can't protect itself. Simple things become dangerous. A little cut from a kitchen knife, a blister from using a tool, a burn from a hot pot, all of it goes completely unnoticed. That leads to infections, chronic ulcers, and damage that just keeps getting worse.
And as that nerve damage progresses, the little muscles inside the hand, now starved of any signals from the brain, start to weaken and just waste away. When the ulnar nerve gets hit, the muscles that keep your fingers straight and balanced just give up. This causes the ring and little fingers to curl inwards, creating what's known as the classic ulnar claw hand.
Then, if the median nerve gets damaged, the thumb loses its amazing ability to swing across the palm and touch the other fingers. That's the one motion that lets us grip things. This leads to the ape thumb deformity, where the thumb just falls back in line with the other fingers. Your ability to hold a cup, a pen, anything, it's severely compromised.
Now, it's really important to get that this isn't a one-size-fits-all disease. It's a whole spectrum. And as you can see here, it all comes down to a person's individual immune system. If your immune system is strong, you actually fight the bacteria really well, but the battle itself can cause severe nerve damage really early on. If your immunity is poor, the bacteria can spread all over your body, but the nerve damage might happen more slowly. In the end, it's your own body that decides how the fight plays out.
All right, but here's where the story takes a turn for the better. For decades now, we've had the power to stop this disease dead in its tracks. The fight back is all about medicine and dedicated, ongoing care.
The answer is something called multi-drug therapy, or MDT. It's this simple but incredibly effective cocktail of antibiotics. You take it for about 6 to 12 months, and it completely cures the infection. It kills all the bacteria and stops the disease from getting any worse. It's a genuine medical triumph. But, and this is the most critical takeaway here, while that medicine is a miracle, it can't turn back time. It stops the bacteria, yes. But the nerve damage that's already happened, the numbness, the paralysis, it stays. Curing the infection is really only step one.
So, that brings us to the final, and honestly, the most hopeful part of this whole story. It's all about how doctors, therapists, and surgeons work together to rebuild what was lost and give people their lives back.
This is where the hard work of rehab comes in, and it's absolutely non-negotiable. We're talking about physical therapy to keep the joints from getting stiff, special splints to help a weak hand function, and occupational therapy to relearn how to do everyday tasks safely. But maybe the most important thing is teaching patients how to be the new warning system for their own hands, checking them every day to prevent any new injuries.
And for people who already have deformities, there is just incredible hope thanks to reconstructive surgery. Surgeons can do these brilliant procedures called tendon transfers. Think of it like creative rewiring. They take a healthy tendon from the forearm and literally reroute it to do the job of a paralyzed muscle. It can restore the ability to open your hand or grip with your thumb. It's amazing.
And the goals here are, well, they're life-changing. This isn't just about making a hand look better. We're talking about restoring the ability to turn a key, to write your own name, to button a shirt, to feed yourself. This is about giving someone back their independence, and with it, their dignity. So when you put it all together, we have a cure. We have therapies that work. We have surgeries that can rebuild and restore. The biology is no longer a mystery, and so much of the damage can be fixed. So the final challenge really isn't a medical one anymore. It's a human one. How do we take all this knowledge and finally, for good, erase the fear that has clung to this disease for thousands of years?